Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 192 for the week of January 12th, 2015. My name is Ryan Higgins, who is here with me this week.
Broxegger. Bryce.
And Charlie.
Toby should be here shortly. We're starting a little earlier, so Toby should be here in a second. But before we begin, we have a very special guest here. Author, filmmaker, scholar. Why don't you introduce yourself? Friend of the podcast.
Kevin.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for the invite.
Did I introduce you properly?
That's filmmaker is loose, but everything else I'll accept.
Scholar, author. Those are all maybe a little more official.
Yes.
Well, you've been a customer of the store for quite some time. Listener of the podcast, I hear. And you've got some stories you want to tell us. Well, I'm excited. I've known some of these stories for a while here, but I think enough time has passed. We should maybe push some of these stories on to the general public. But before we do, you're a comic book fan.
I'm just surprised our audience is the general public.
Yeah, well, you never know. Something goes viral, podcast gets picked up by some mass media, TMZ's all of a sudden tweeting about it. You never know what's going to happen.
Are you going to go goth if that happens?
Am I going to go goth?
Yeah, go back. Wear makeup.
Okay, maybe. Did I ever stop?
You're just wearing makeup right now?
Maybe. You don't know. Kevin.
Ryan.
You've been buying comic books for quite some time.
Yes.
Now, you're a little bit older than I think most of us.
I go way back with comics, yes.
So why don't you give us your secret origin? When did you start buying comics? What age? Do you remember? What was your books did you like? What do you like? How did you get into it? Did you stay in it? Did you leave? Did you come back? Give us the whole story.
What was the price tag on them?
Didn't mean to interrupt.
The price tag, the original price tag I remember was 25 cents.
Oh, okay.
So that's early 70s.
Yes, and I was super young, and I was a DC kid growing up.
Okay,
Sorry,
like
Bryce.
it.
Hold on, Bryce. Hold on. I'll get there. I was a DC kid growing up, and I was buying comics off the spinner rack. And this was in the time of the Super Friends cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was more a case of you just had more exposure to the DC characters than the Marvel characters. And then around, when I was at that perfect kind of sweet spot of preteen came what I would call the two books that I remember, the books that everyone loved, which were the Byrne Claremont X-Men and the Perez Wolfman New Teen Titans.
Yep.
Those were the comics. If you were cool and you read comics, you read those. And around that same time, I also discovered through reprints Silver Age Marvel and just fell in love. And
my man.
I'm still a DC kid at heart. But right now, if you handed me a stack of Silver Age comics, a mix of both companies, I would read the Marvels first.
Well, I would too.
Yes.
I mean, I like DC, but it's tough to go back and read these DC comics from the Silver Age compared to the Marvel stuff. The Marvel stuff was just head and shoulders above them in almost every regard. I like a lot of the old DC stuff, but it's very different.
It has a charm, right?
Was and is better.
Oh, man. I said different, not necessarily
At first you said better.
So fast forward to, my college years, and I used to work at a comic store, actually, in Palo Alto, so 15 minutes from here.
Well, so early 70s, you would have been very young.
Very young.
So by early 80s, you were a teenage.
I wasn't a teenager in the early 80s. I was in that elementary / middle school sweet spot.
So 10, 11, maybe somewhere. Okay.
Heading into, and then, so I was working in a comic shop in the very late 80s, early 90s.
Were you still reading books the whole time, or?
Which shop?
Comics and Comics. Which
used
used
to
to be
there.
all over the Bay Area, was a chain, and now is extinct.
The one on California
Avenue,
Yeah,
yep.
I shopped there until it burnt down, and then I came here.
So I might have sold Charlie some comics.
You don't remember a giant little kid coming in to buy comic books?
But this was after the time of Dark Knight and Watchmen.
But were you reading the whole time?
I was reading the whole time,
Okay,
yes. Crisis, Swamp Thing. Sorry, but X-Men never reached those heights for me after kind of the Byrne era.
Oh, well.
I just look back at that as the magic time.
You're not a Bishop fan?
I was out of X-Men by then.
You're not a Maggot fan?
Sorry.
Maggot. Yeah, dude, what happened to Maggot?
No one wants to know. No one cares.
I'm going to find out.
and it's going to be put on my website.
He's just chilling in a dumpster behind the school.
So,
but yes, I agree. I actually agree with you. The Burn Claremont, it has never been as good. Although, it's hard to get to 100 out of 100, even if it's 98 right now.
So most people, we hear the story all the time. They kind of into when they're a kid. They get out in high school and college, and they come back later. But through college and everything,
I did get out of it after college for a while.
Okay.
So the 90s, kind of the hologram years and all of that, I was kind of out of comics to some degree then.
When did you stop working at the store?
Maybe 94.
From the time I started working here, unofficially, so we swapped, right?
Yes. And so I missed a lot of the 90s, later 90s.
I wouldn't say you missed it.
Okay.
Hey.
But
And
then I'm back in now. I'm back in.
Yeah, and you've been back for quite a while.
Yeah.
So what got you back? Kind of, is it just sort of the change up of the kind of the creators, the writers taking over Image, like the modern Image stuff, kind of just a little.
I kind of got back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And I was reading a lot of the Vertigo stuff.
Okay.
And then I don't know what year all of these were. I could tell you the years of everything when I worked there, but now, for instance, Infinite Crisis, Identity Crisis. I was reading all of those.
That was 2004 and 2006.
Okay. So by then I was fully back in.
Okay.
Now I probably buy half DC, half Marvel.
Yeah. Kevin, it's Toby, Kevin. You met him. You know Kevin. Okay, there you go. Toby, welcome to the podcast. Turn your mic on.
Here before?
There you go. Hello.
No.
Hello. Not on the podcast.
I delivered pizza one night and beer.
Oh, okay. Oh, for the not swearing?
Yes.
No hero clicks talk.
No hero clicks. Oh. We're not going to win this one tonight.
Bryce missed that one.
I can do the no hero clicks, but I can't do the no beer. Wait, it wasn't no beer. No swearing.
No swearing. Yeah. It's tough episode. So, okay, but now you're back. So, but I mean, you're like most people. You're not buying 50 books a week these days. You're picking up a couple things here and there.
My total is probably 10 books a month.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is, I was talking with people online, Twitter earlier about this. I mean, this is becoming the norm. No one is buying every book on the shelf anymore. You could, back in the days you're talking about, you literally could.
Yeah.
Because Marvel would have 5 books a week. Now Marvel has 30 books a week. I mean, it's at $4 a book or $5 a book. So it's a very different time. DC as well. It's no different. Bryce,
no. In this case, I'm shaking my head because I agree, and it is frustrating that. I do remember the time that you could pick up all the Marvel books and it was whatever, but now you can't.
Were you a Marvel zombie? I mean, were you the 100% every single issue, or are you just
No.
Okay.
The only Marvel I ever devoured with passion was the old Silver Age reprints.
Okay.
Now, in the day when I was really into comics, and I remember working at the shop and buying Silver Age comics, our bins would be jammed with Silver Age, DC, and Marvel at a
worthless,
buck per cover.
Right.
Nobody cared about that stuff until sometime in the 90s when that Overstreet used to publish those paperback updates.
It was Batman. It was the Batman movie in '89. That is the thing that catapulted the Silver Age into the Golden Age and Silver Age into some crazy prices because people went for Batman, the early issues of Batman, and then all of a sudden, Marvel stuff was worth. You could get FF #1 for $500 in 1990, 89. Now it's 500,000, right?
Why was I 9 years old then?
Yeah, exactly.
Damn
right?
it!
But of course, all of us are 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, looking at the wall, going $500. Oh my god! I'll never have that much money.
I remember saving for that stupid Gambit.
Yeah,
my first major collectible expenditure was the Green Lantern issue with the first Guy Gardner.
Oh, nice.
I think it's 59.
Yeah.
And the cover price was a near mint copy on the wall of a comic shop. The cover price was $3. And I remember at the time that was a serious.
Yeah.
I really had to think about if I wanted that.
Well, that's like 15 comics, right?
Yeah.
So what happened to your stuff? Do you still have all that, or?
No, I sold off most of my old collection. And I remember when I sold off a huge chunk of it, one of the dealers who was buying from me was flipping through my box, and it was a bunch of Silver Age, and was going, I'm making a flipping gesture right now for the audience, and then, X-Men. And suddenly his antenna went up. But the Silver Age stuff, I probably got paid by the pound for that, which I wish now
you wish you kept it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the same. Here's the thing. Low grade random issues, non-keys, are still not worth a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, Spider-Man, X-Men, there are some exceptions, but most Marvel included, Silver Age stuff that aren't key issues, they're still pretty cheap. But those keys, especially these days, holy shit. There goes your swearing. I didn't even have a beer either. Those key issues, the first appearances and stuff, are just going through the roof. Yeah, the halls are making me drunk. But yeah, it is madness, especially the last 4 or 5 years. So, very crazy. Well, after you got out of college, you had some jobs.
I did have some jobs.
And you were in Hollywood for a number of years.
I was going to say, I think the job that you would be most interested in is, yes, the Hollywood years. Where
Kevin Sharp, the Hollywood years.
Someday. But I was a case of, it was possible to, at that time, and I don't know about now, make a living as a writer, as a screenwriter, without ever having a film produced. So my friends would refer to me as the option king, because I would get paid for all of these options that a studio would kind of rent from me for X number of, be it months, years, whatever. And then if it was never made, the rights would revert back to me. So nothing was ever made, but I was earning a living as a writer.
That's how it works. I mean, I'm going to assume that's most people, right?
Yes. Yeah, if you're earning a living even.
Right.
But because the amount of, if you just think of how many movies come out every year versus the amount of things that people write in a given year.
Yeah, and mainstream Hollywood probably releases a couple hundred movies a year, and they must get hundreds of thousands of scripts within the course of a couple
I read
year
some
period.
for a while when I was in college.
Yeah, I have seen inside, there are rooms the size of this store that are nothing but bookshelves full of scripts that may or may not ever be made.
Wow. It's like Sandman's Library, right?
Yes.
The unpublished books.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now I look back on those years with great kind of fondness and wistful memories. But back then I was the young artist with my principles saying, I want to see my name on a screen. I want to see my dream realized. This is so frustrating. And now I just want to go back in my time machine and say,
Money!
Young fool, just live your life and enjoy it. But yeah, so back then, so this would have been late 90s, right before the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. Because I remember...
Post X-Men, though?
It would have been X-Men era, in between X-Men and Spider-Man.
Okay.
And
so superhero movies, despite what they are now, even when that X-Men movie came out, people have to remember, it actually wasn't that big. That when that week it came out, like I remember going to the theater and it kind of being like maybe half full. Like X-Men was not like a blockbuster film the day it came out. It did well, but it wasn't 100 million opening weekend or anything like that. This is a modern occurrence. Films didn't do that back then.
It was a successful movie. It wasn't a blockbuster.
Right.
Well, and plus with that, the studio didn't fully believe in that movie.
Right.
That was kind of an experimental. Now, X2 is a different story because then you had a track record. But the first X-Men was kind of looked at as a gamble.
Well, we still had we were hot off the heels of Barbed Wire and Tank Girl and Darkman
Judge
and
Dredd.
Judge Dredd and movies that I like, some of them, but they're not
Barbed Wire
we have now. That would not be one of them. that would not be one of them.
Not even a little?
No, not at all. I don't even know if I ever saw that movie start to finish. Tank Girl I saw in the theater. Judge Dredd I saw in the theater. I know I saw most of them, but man, Barbed Wire I may have just not even seen. I can't remember. And this is also post Batman and Robin, so
yes.
Superheroes are definitely on the no thank you.
Yes, and if you think back to that first X-Men, especially compared to what we have now, it's very non-superhero-y.
Yeah,
there are no costumes. They're more Matrix-style costumes. So
No, they're uniform.
Okay, yes, uniform, sorry. So you could even look at a still from the X-Men if you had never seen it and maybe not even guess that's a superhero movie or a Marvel movie. Because it was Batman and Robin had kind of poisoned the well.
Yeah.
So
that much neon does not belong in a movie.
So I had an opportunity to go in, since Warner Brothers owns this huge library of characters, which now I don't know what the future holds, but it seems like they're still struggling to figure out what to do in the movies with their characters. I had an opportunity to go in and pitch a couple of projects at Warner Brothers seeing that the Spider-Man movie was coming down the pipeline, seeing the images from that where they're embracing like the full Spider-Man costume. Although the Green Goblin didn't look like the comic version, he looks like a supervillain. So I went into Warner Brothers to pitch, as that DC love still in my young heart, to pitch Green Lantern and the Flash. So at this time, this is when Kevin Smith has written Superman Returns.
Yeah.
And the Wachowski brothers have written a Plastic Man script.
Yep.
And there was talk of that these would be the next kind of iterations of the DC characters. So it was a case of where they were open to writers coming in to kind of maybe catch this wave that might be started with Spider-Man, with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. So I pitched a very Silver Age flavored Green Lantern 2-part movie. Nothing like the Ryan Reynolds one. Sorry. Won't speak ill of the deceased.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's only Ryan.
So it was very much based, if you go back to the old showcase issues with where Hal Jordan is first getting the ring, first learning that he's part of this larger universe. I was pitching a movie like that where the first half of the movie would be him kind of on Earth, learning the ring, fighting criminals. And the second movie would be more sci-fi based, supervillain based. If you think of, there's an old TV show called The Greatest American Hero, where the show is about this guy who gets this costume and can't figure out how to work it. My first Green Lantern pitch was going to be like that, except not a comedy. Then I also had the opportunity to pitch The Flash, again, going back to the Silver Age. This would have been the Barry Allen Flash. And for this, I took in actual panels from showcase number 4, the Carmine Infantino artwork, to illustrate, because I wanted to have certain scenes in the script. And the Green Lantern pitch came first. The Flash pitch came later, because I can mark the time on this because of a comment that I got in the meeting. So I'm putting the pictures up on boards, like easel boards. And one of the executives in the room says, well, if you can draw like that, why are you writing? Why aren't you just making comics?
No.
Yeah. And which I informed them that this is actually not art that I'm prepared.
This is your product.
Yes. You guys actually own this, by the way. And then the other comment that I remember from that meeting I will never forget was, there's the scene in showcase number 4. This is the first Silver Age Flash, where he's discovering he has speed. He's in a diner and a waitress drops a tray of food and he sees it in slow motion and catches all the plates. So, of course, that scene is in there. That's a key scene from the story.
It's also in Spider-Man.
Well, that's the problem. One of the people in the room looked at that, because now the Spider-Man had come, or at least there had been studio screenings if it hadn't been released yet, but it had been seen. One of the comments in the room was, well, I believe the quote is, that moment belongs to Spider-Man now. You can't use that. It's going to look like we're ripping off Spider-Man. And my reply was, well, this is from 1956, I think, this issue, but it doesn't matter because now the public knows that as a Spider-Man moment.
This is the Apocalypse Darkseid, not Apocalypse, the Thanos Darkseid problem we may be having in a couple years. So
no,
yes.
we already have this problem. The Justice League, came after the Avengers.
Yeah, well, there's that too. I've had my the Justice League, that's like DC's version of the Avengers comments. I've had those a few times. So,
Well, basically what I found out was that Warner Brothers was primarily interested in Superman and Batman. And I'm not even blaming them, because that's the brand recognition. Those symbols are on so many products. Yeah. I kind of tested the waters to see if they might be interested in Wonder Woman. Not so much.
Not at the time.
Not at the time. So obviously the Kevin Smith Superman wasn't ever made. The Wachowski's Plastic Man wasn't ever made. My Green Lantern or Flash weren't ever made. That might have been a whole alternate universe version of the DC movies.
So, do you know how many other scripts they were taking at that time? Like a lot, or?
I don't know how many writers went into pitch. The only scripts that I ever actually put my hands on and know that they had purchased were Kevin Smith and Wachowski's.
Yeah. Now, those have been floating around for years. So, I mean, especially the Kevin Smith's famous spider alien, big giant spider that we eventually got in Wild Wild West.
Yes.
That's a story he likes to tell.
John Peters is the producer of that.
Yeah.
And the problem with hooking your wagon to Superman or Batman is you're going to have so many sets of fingerprints on those things because they are the marquee properties. I thought, and I'm sure this might have been a Wachowski thought as well, going in with kind of a lesser known character, you can kind of fly under the radar and maybe have a little more creative freedom than saying, we're going to reboot Batman.
Yeah.
Especially after the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. You're just going to have...
I'm surprised they even would take pitches for Batman at that time. You figured they weren't going to let that sit for a couple years.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody pitched Batman.
Yeah.
But I did get the sense from talking to people there at the studio and other writers who had gone in that they were really not confident that the public would be interested in characters like Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman, that there'd be too much of a... that the public wouldn't know these names, and it would take too much marketing and too much money and work to bring the public up to speed on who these characters are versus everyone knows Superman and Batman.
Well, think of it this way. Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and even Captain America and Thor. It's the exact same thing, right? Except you just have to make a good movie, and people will come out. It doesn't matter. And then that sort of mentality, hopefully, at this point, is completely gone from Warner Brothers. That's what we've been told. Whether that's true is another thing when it actually comes out, but we'll find out in the next couple of years.
This is also around the time of the Batman animated series.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So they had that as a kind of redemption for that character outside of the movies.
And I can't say that mentality is completely gone because it always seems to cycle back around. Like, they got a little bit of leeway after Justice League Unlimited and they started doing the direct-to-videos. Then they put out a couple of Green Lantern and Wonder Woman's, and all of a sudden it's like, no, we're just going to do Batman and Superman again. It's always this
but look how
cycle with them.
But look how they're framing it. We're going to do Justice League, but it's really an Aquaman story, right? We're going to do Superman, or Batman, but it's really a Suicide Squad movie. So that's how
that was recently, though.
Yeah,
it
was.
At the time, it was just straight up Superman and Batman only.
Oh, I know.
And then they were like, maybe we could do it this way.
Now it has to be under the Justice League title or the Batman title,
but that's easy enough because everything could be Superman, Batman, or Justice League if you really break it down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, almost nearly every character.
I want to say the DC Legos or Batman Legos, just with all these other heroes,
right?
In there.
Oh yeah. Well, look at like Lego Batman 3, the game that came out. It's Lego DC Universe, but they have that Batman logo right on the front because that's what people know, right? So they're not immune to this, but
I think that's a little harder to do in a big budget movie if you're going to try and call something Batman and then sideline Batman for a fair amount of it.
Well, like when Green Lantern came out, I mean, I think DC at the time probably legitimately wanted to do what Marvel did. They didn't do it as well, And so had that Green Lantern movie taken off, we'd be 6 years deep or 5 years deep now in Green Lantern or in DC
we would have at
continuity
least had
movies.
A third Green Lantern movie.
I mean, at this point, at least a second, if not a third. So I mean, we'll see what happens with the movies coming up. So most of your pitches, I mean, I'm assuming most of them were not comic related, but did you try to sneak in comic stuff or just like science fiction stuff, or was it?
Yes, I would try to sneak in. I had a little game that probably amused nobody but myself, where I would try to, at some point in every script, I would name one character the secret identity name of a famous comic hero.
Nice.
Even if it's somebody who was in one scene. I would work in, here's my boss, Hal Jordan.
It's like Quentin Tarantino, right? He like even the scripts he kind of just touched up. He worked in some comic thing in some fashion.
Yes, he did the, I remember the Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
He did a pass on that with the Kirby Silver Surfer stuff in there. Yeah.
He's got the Thing scene from Reservoir Dogs. Talk about the Fantastic Four and everything. So yeah, it's good stuff. Cool. Anything else any other stories you want to regale us with?
Did you want me to talk about the Green Lantern letter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so...
It's not Hollywood, but that's a cool story.
Yeah. Well...
You told me.
No, it was during I think it might have been during that time, though. So in the late 90s, was it? Mid-90s?
Mid-90s,
When they turned Hal Jordan to Parallax.
Death of Superman was 93, so it would have been that same time.
So I was still reading then.
Yeah.
Okay. They turned Hal Jordan into Parallax. Now, Green Lantern was always my favorite DC superhero. As a kid, that was my Halloween costume, a homemade Green Lantern costume. So when I saw that they were turning him into a villain, and to anybody who likes the Parallax story, my apologies in advance, but...
No Jeff Johns fans here. Don't worry. None of us like that.
I thought it was shit. And I'm not even objecting to them turning him into a villain. Well, I am. I am. But I'm talking about the quality of the story.
There's a big difference between talking about the Emerald Twilight storyline and talking about Green Lantern Rebirth.
Yeah.
So he's still safe.
I'm talking about Emerald Twilight.
Yeah.
So I wrote a long letter to this former. Is it still being published? The Comics Buyer's Guide?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it used to be a weekly newspaper about the comics business. I wrote a long letter to them talking about, why do you kill characters? It's not to DC, it's to Comics Buyer's Guide. Why would you kill characters if you feel that they're too dull or you feel like you've kind of gone as far as you can with them currently? Why not just have Hal Jordan go wander the earth and bring in Kyle Rayner? Why do you have to destroy the character? Why not just stop mentioning them and bring in a different version? And, I went on about my first Green Lantern comic, etc. Anyway, so a couple weeks later go by.
And they published a story, right?
They published it, yeah, unedited.
Nice.
I get a new a postcard in the mail from DC Comics. It's Action Comics #1 is the image on the postcard. Handwritten by Julius Schwartz, who was the editor who, for those who aren't familiar with the name, he was kind of the guiding hand behind the Silver Age reboots of all the DC characters.
And let's be honest, probably the most important editor in the history of comic books. Julius Schwartz is responsible for bringing back superheroes post-World War II to the DC universe. He co-created Hal Jordan, Barry Allen, the Justice League, the new Hawkman, Zatanna. I mean, every single character that you know from DC, he created or co-created in some fashion, short of Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman. And there would be no Marvel Comics and no Fantastic Four without the launch of the Justice League, which he had, obviously some involvement in. So, yeah, one of, if not the most important people in comic history. So,
wow.
Yeah, and so there's a handwritten postcard from Julius Schwartz saying that he had read my letter in the Comics Buyer's Guide and thanking me for taking the time to write that on behalf of him and John Broome, who was the writer, and Gil Kane, and how much that he knows that they would appreciate the comments that I made, and signed it Julius Schwartz. And I still have that. I'll always have that postcard.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Mr. Sharp here's been. Oh, sorry, I didn't know if we were using.
Oh no, it's fine.
Oh yeah.
But he's been in the back of a bunch of comics.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In the back of a bunch. Of
You had a letter in Miracle Man, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Went back in the days at the comic shop, we used to have, because as well, Ryan, I'm sure you're busy at all hours, but back then we had a lot of downtime, especially on odd days when it wasn't a shipment or a weekend. And so we had a roll of stamps and a stack of envelopes at the front counter.
Nice.
And I would just sit and crank out letters to comics.
Nice.
I'd read a comic and write a letter right away if I liked it. So there's a year or two of time where my letters are popping up everywhere.
Nice. No, there was actually again, you think internet boards and message boards and stuff and Twitter and Facebook these days, there was a community of comic book letter hacks that were always writing letters. And did you ever meet any of those guys?
No, but so there was a guy from England named Malcolm Bourne.
Okay.
Spelled like the Bourne Identity.
Yeah.
And his letters, he had letters in pretty much everything. And so I wrote a letter to this comic. There were all these around the time of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of these black and white labels. I mean, they would pop up and publish for 6 months and disappear.
Yeah.
So they had a comic called The Trouble with Girls.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I wrote a letter to the first issue, and I complimented their comic. And then I said, P.S., could you please print a letter from Malcolm Bourne in your next letter column? Because I really feel I can't go a month without seeing that. I got a letter from him. This is pre-email from England,
nice,
calling me out on the letter that The Trouble with Girls had printed, because they did print it with the PS.
Nice.
So, yeah, I didn't ever meet anybody face-to-face, but yes.
Yeah, the pre-internet days, you would see, I mean, if you go back to read all those letter columns, I mean, you see the same names pop up over and over, and they'll reference each other and talk. And I mean, I know there's been sort of this community of the letter writers that would kind of talk to themselves, and a lot of them made fanzines. So yeah, it's kind of, you think internet days these days, this is, you had to wait 6 weeks before they got your letter yelling at them about something stupid they said. Now it's just instant, so.
I would just skip all the letters and go for the numbered questions letters, because then they would, this will be easy then. Okay.
Yeah.
when is Rogue going to finally kiss Gambit? Okay. What is their answer? Okay, number 3. Will not happen soon. Question mark? Damn it.
Well, those are some great stories. We have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week. We're not going to get to everything. Some of these things, I'm actually going to push back to next week. Some of this TV show stuff. I think we got our fill of Hollywood this week. But
sorry,
no. It's totally awesome.
The Agent Carter talk. Sorry.
There's a new Avengers trailer that just came out as we were recording this. The Ant-Man trailer came out. The iZombie trailer came out. The Vixen tease. I mean, all this stuff. We will get to the stuff next week. We may sneak some of it in at the end of this episode here.
Why am I here?
Agent Carter.
Stayed home.
Maybe we'll talk about Agent Carter. We'll do something. We'll talk about something. But there's a couple comic things to talk about. Some end of year stuff and some new stuff coming up. So I thought it best to probably discuss this stuff this week.
Roll it
since
out.
It's the most recent stuff. And Hollywood shit, you can find that shit anywhere. Except for your stories. Those you can only find on the Comic Conspiracy podcast.
Or if you get Kevin drunk and alone in a bar.
Everyone's been talking about the Ant-Man trailer all week. But we will.
We'll get even better stories that don't feature Green Lantern or the Flash.
We will talk about that in a bit. Image Expo was last week. And like the last couple times, they had a whole bunch of new announcements. So I don't know if you guys followed along or saw what they all were.
I think I saw most of them.
I'm going to do a real quick run through here. So we see what we have. Bryce, tell me how many of these number ones you want. AD, After Death. Scott Snyder and Jeff Lemire. It be set in the near future where death has been cured and one man must come to grips with what comes next.
So has he been cranking out Witches? I haven't been following the
Oh, yeah. Witches has been great.
So now that he's adding a second title, I don't know if he's remembering this stuff or...
Well, it's with Jeff Lemire, and he writes too, so maybe they're co-writing and Lemire's drawing. I don't know.
Okay. Well, just because I wonder with, Jason Aaron and Rick Remender and Bendis and everybody that's doing sort of their Image books as well as...
Yeah.
Sort of how many they can take on. Because some writers are more prolific than others. Some take their time and write better stories. Scott Snyder, for example, I don't know how prolific he is, but he writes great stories.
Yep.
Well, I just don't know how many it is before he's stretched too thin.
He's been vocal about what he works on, because American Vampire, he said...
It's been way delayed.
He's like, it'll be out when it's out.
Yeah.
Because he writes... he's talked about his writing stuff. I think it's he does Batman... And then he'll cycle into doing whatever the other thing he's doing, like Witches or, the thing with Jeff Lemire. So he cycles through. So that's why we haven't seen an American Vampire book in like months. So, but he's been vocal about it. He says it's coming. It's just I'm not working on it right now.
Because I love it. I mean, I wish that all of my favorite writers could be putting out 4 books a month, but that's not realistic.
4 good books.
I didn't say that.
So Black Road, the next book. These are also all the announcements of books that are coming up at some point. I'm getting all this off Newsarama. They have a big article. They have everything. It seems like a press release from Image. So in case you want to read these yourself. Black Road is a Viking book by Brian Wood and Gary Brown, who did The Massive with Brian Wood. So should be, if you were a fan of Northlanders, you may want to check this one out. I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young and...
That was fun.
Jean-Francois Bilot, who worked with him.
I want 3 copies of number 1.
Nice. It's
actually only 2.
It's about
but he wants to pick them himself.
Yes.
So.
It's about a snarky, slightly deranged 40-year-old with a battle axe who happens to be trapped in a Shirley Temple-esque body and is confined to the Technicolor fun world that is Fairyland. It's full of morbid, dark humor and snark.
I don't know if I just got a headache with that description.
Island and 8 House, 2 different titles by Emma Rios, and I think both are also by Brendan Graham as well. There's not much info on them. One of them is going to be a 72-page anthology with other creators, so that should be interesting. I'm sure it won't last because no one buys anthologies. Captra is new Chip Zdarsky book, who does Sex Criminals, and he's the upcoming Howard the Duck, and is a big fan of Applebee's. And Kagan McLeod, who did Infinite Kung Fu, which is, I remember the art on that book was great.
That's a great book.
I didn't follow the book, but I really liked the art in that series. Captra follows Keith Kanga, a young bioengineer flung across the universe into a strange planet filled with weird danger. And if he doesn't get home to Earth, the place where you live is doomed. So, sci-fi book. Ludocrates by Kieran Gillen and David LaFuente from Wicked Divine, a Phonogram, and Young Avengers and a bunch of stuff. David LaFuente from Ultimate Spider-Man, and a bunch of other people. I don't know what they're doing with that. It's something else. Monstrous, which is by I can never pronounce her name. Marjorie.
Marjorie.
Sorry, I totally just misread that. Marjorie
right?
Liu, yes. And Sana Takeda, who's doing Miss Marvel right now from Image. They're doing a ongoing fantastic adventure set in an alternative 1900s Asia called The Monstrous. No Mercy, which is Alex DeCampi, who did Smoke and Ashes, and Carlos B. McNeil from Finder are doing a book. Yeah, No Mercy. But it was just a trip before college. Build schools in a Central American village. Get to know some of the other freshmen. What could go wrong? After tragedy strikes, these once privileged American teens must find their way home in a cruel landscape that at best doesn't like them, and at worst actively wants to kill them. No phones, no passports, no mercy. There you go.
You had me at no phones.
Paper Girls also probably will end up being the #1 selling comic of the year because it's by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang. So,
I am so ready for that one. BKV was in town for the Image Expo, and I got a chance to talk to him about Paper Girls.
Yeah, I'm curious about this.
That is my sweet spot.
It's a story about...
Wait. And Saga's still going on, so he's just doing...
He's got a third book coming down the road here, so I'll get to it. Paper Girls is a story of 4 12-year-old newspaper delivery girls who experience something extraordinary one day. That newspapers are dead.
The internet's going to tear that one a new one.
Phonogram is back. Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. You read it or you don't. You already know what that's about. Plutonia is by Jeff Lemire and Emmy Leno and other people. Plutonia follows the story of 5 suburban kids who make a shocking discovery while exploring the woods one day after school. The body of the world's greatest superheroes, Polara, laying dead among the mud and grass. Pretty Deadly is back.
I hate it when I find dead superheroes in the woods.
By Kelly Sue DeConnick and Emma Rios. One of my least favorite comics I've ever read in my entire life. So go have fun reading that. Beautiful, beautiful art. Incomprehensible story. Revengeance is Darwin Cook, written and drawn. This should be awesome.
Yes.
Darwin Cook is one of the best creators in the industry, and he is amazing. Revengeance is a psychological thriller with darkly humorous overtones. When Joe Malarkey is faced with a criminal tragedy, he sets out to make things right on his own. What follows is Joe's odyssey through the underside of the city and the madness that seems to drive his crazy world. So that should be cool. Run, Love, Kill, all one word, is Eric Conte and Joe Sui. I have no idea who any of these people are, and it's a giant paragraph, so I'm not going to read it. Go find out that on Newsarama. Savior is a new Todd McFarlane book, so whatever. Sons of the Devil is Brian Buccicello and Tony Infante. Look at a blue-collar 25-year-old orphan who learns he is the son of a cult leader. So that seems interesting.
Damn it, I hate it when that happens.
Seriously, I'm not trying to talk shit about Todd McFarlane, but does anyone care? I mean, Haunt, no one cared.
It was just understood. You could have kept going.
Okay. Starve by Brian Wood is...
About starving?
It's a big paragraph, so I'm not going to read that either. Otherwise, I'll be here all day reading these giant paragraphs. I think we already got through most of the good stuff. I can't even pronounce the name of the book, so I'll skip that one. We Stand on Guard. We Stand on Guard is the other Brian K. Vaughan book with Steve Scrose, Doc Frankenstein. Steve Scrose has done a lot of stuff.
That's kind of good art.
He's amazing. He did storyboards for The Matrix, a lot of good stuff. It's an action-packed military thriller set in the 22nd century. So there you go. And then Heaven by James Robinson and friend of Toby's, Philip Tan. Right. Heaven introduces readers to a distant future where the forces of man and alien combined have used religion to conquer the universe and are now about to invade the next one, Heaven itself. Seems like a pretty interesting book, and James Robinson generally does pretty good stuff. So
yeah.
Lots of stuff announced at Image Expo. I'm sure it'll take a while for the stuff to come out, but we will get to it eventually. So I know I feel like, man, especially Southern Bastards, took forever to come out.
They announced it at the 2013 Image Expo, and then it wasn't even out.
Mid 2014.
Yeah,
or something.
mid 2014 before early. It was because the 2013 Expo was at the beginning of the year, or something.
But given how good that book was, it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And then Odyssey was announced at the 2013, and that just came out a month or two, last month.
Yeah. So some of these may take a while.
I don't think I could say the same thing on that one.
Some of these may take a while to come out, but but we will get to them. So this is good stuff. Image Expo, and they'll probably do something at Comic-Con announcing a handful of books too. But yeah, there's a whole lot of books. A whole lot of books. All right, we're going to play a game.
Oh, no.
Did anyone actually...
This is
getting excited.
I love games.
Did anyone actually look at the 2014... This is not our list that we did last week or the week before or whatever. This is Diamond's list. So this is the highest-selling comics, graphic novels, and companies of 2014. So we'll play a game. You guys can shout out what you think the answers are. You at home listening, you can play along as well.
Are we disqualified if we read the article?
Did you remember everything?
Not everything, just who the big winner was.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know I did not look at sort of like the specifics in trades or comics, but I did see sort of like the market share stuff.
Heyo.
Well,
Not that I'm saying who won.
Well, we can go over this for those that care about sales in comic books, which is maybe some of us. I do. I
conspiracy.
No, I love that article. That's why I
love
read it
this
before
stuff.
the podcast.
Yeah.
I find
Yeah.
that very interesting.
Yeah.
Your little retail corner that you do, I like that.
I think it's interesting, so I try to do something different. So all this comes from Diamond Comics. Marvel has 34.38% of the market share. So 34.38% of all comic books sold are Marvel, whereas 28.86% are DC.
Not at this store.
As normal, yeah. It's flip it, and you're closer.
Wait, hold on, Ryan. Which one of those is higher?
Oh, Marvel is. Marvel's always higher. Like, the only time
I know,
DC was
I know.
higher was
No, no.
2011 for
No,
New 52. Yeah.
No, I know.
I know. However, if you go to unit share, so the actual amount of comics shipped, not the
dollar amount.
not the dollar amount, but the actual the unit market share. Marvel is 36%, and DC is 32%. So, DC.
Wait, why do they report that, and why do you even list that? Like, units shipped doesn't mean anything. Like, if you're shipping more,
No, that just means
congratulations.
No, the first one is-
sitting in people's stores.
No, that's not what it means. The first one is
that's that many sold.
no. The first one is dollars shipped. The second one is units. So that's actually the more important.
Oh,
So 34% of all comics of the 34.38% of the dollars spent. Sorry, I should have rephrased that. Are to Marvel. The 36.78% of all comics sold are Marvel. It's a little bit different because
$3 comics versus $4 comics,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So
Got it. What I'm saying is that I saw some of those stats were like such and such amount of whatever the fuck shipped.
well, it's all
Which
shipped.
doesn't mean anything.
It's all
I thought
shipped.
that the other stat
But-
was how much they actually sold.
That is how many sold to comic stores.
That's
We
not
are the
how many was
customers.
actually bought.
yeah, all of this
I thought that they
doesn't
were able
take
to
into
extrapolate that.
account.
No.
From stores. Okay.
No. So comic book stores are the customers of the companies. You're my customer, right? That's how you don't buy comics from Marvel. You buy comics from me. I buy comics from Marvel, right?
Well, Diamond buys comics from Marvel. You buy
Bryce
comics from Diamond.
Diamond does not buy comics from Marvel.
Okay.
Most of the companies, Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, and a few others, are brokered. So the books get processed by Diamond, but Diamond doesn't actually pay for them.
Wait, so
You cut Diamond a check, though. You don't cut Marvel a check.
But it is a brokered.
Take that, Higgins.
They do not purchase the comics from the companies. They're brokered.
wait,
That's
so
the
they're
difference.
not able to extrapolate how many are actually sold?
No.
Dude, like 12% of comic stores have a point of sale system. Are you kidding me?
And
Yeah, it's-
also, keep
most
in
guys
mind,
use like cigar boxes still. Like, it's ridiculous.
it's
most
awesome.
of it doesn't have great returnability or anything like that. So all they can really do is track how many were ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like
X-Men number
everything
one.
else.
X-Men number one sold 9 million copies to comic stores. 8.5 million of them ended up in landfills and quarter bins. So
The most awesome landfill ever. Dude, that was magic. That 4 or 5 part gatefold multi-cover, Jim Lee, come back to Marvel.
So Image is number 3 on both. IDW is number 4. Both Dark Horse, man. Dark Horse, shell of its former self. Well, I guess the percent's probably close to the same, but this next year will be interesting because Dark Horse will be sans Star Wars. So Dark Horse, 5th place. Dynamite Entertainment, 6th place. Boom Entertainment, 7th place. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. For dollars shipped, Eagle Moss Publications, the people that make the little lead figures,
Love your chess pieces.
yeah, they're in there above Valiant, Archie, Avatar, all the other companies because they sell a whole lot of those figures. So, Yeah,
Charlie
they're
Brown.
always one of the top selling publishers.
Well, no, I'm actually just thinking because technically that stuff ships under magazines. So
But it's dollars spent through Diamond.
Dude, can we talk about Image and the fact that they
Oh, Image just fucking destroyed it last year.
Dude, they went up like something like 20%. Their business expanded by like 25%.
Oh, at least. I mean, from this year...
Like, I know it's a smaller number, so you might be prone to say, like, oh,
There.
you know, it's easy to go up so much with such a small
No.
number. But, like, it's hard, like, running a business and doing, like, 20% better than the last year. Like, that's crazy.
Dollar amount, they went from 8% of the industry to 9.23% of the industry. And from units, they went from 8.49% to 10.41%.
That's what I'm
That's
thinking of.
the big
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
No company has broken 10% of the market in a long time. Maybe like Dreamwave did for a month or something like that. Like it's happened occasionally, but for like very temporary times. But Image has destroyed this last year. It's like obviously Marvel and DC are Marvel and DC, but even them. You have to remember, at one point, Marvel was 80% of the comic sales.
Really?
80. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are good Marvel years. The 70s and 80s, Marvel was 80%. Like, so things are not the way they used to be. Yeah, DC was like 15%.
Wasn't that around the time when Crisis on Infinite Earths started to put DC back on the map?
That's the switch over. And then Dark Knight, and it was Crisis, Dark Knight, and Watchmen were like the three that all of a sudden DC was like 10, 15, 20, 25%. Like it went whoop. And then Marvel Shooter left and Marvel crashed and yeah. Those are
What's
bad
the
times.
lowest Marvel's been?
I mean, probably what they've been a couple years ago. I mean, they probably. I think they scraped like 30%. Like that's as low as they've probably ever been. I don't think they've. I mean, year end. I don't think they've ever dropped below 30.
Anyway, good on Image for like who would have guessed that, you know, when Image first came out and then they crashed and burned so hard back in the 90s, they would have come back so strong and like fully realized the dream, because the dream was always what it is now.
Right.
It just, you know, wasn't working out for them because of the circumstance or because of how the industry like was.
Well, what's great about Image now is that they've expanded beyond those original 7 guys. There's like those guys are the books that don't sell from Image. Like it's almost if McFarlane on a book. I mean, obviously Jim Lee sold, Liefeld sold, so they're out of the company. But for a while it was like, whoa, no, it's just about us. It felt that way for a long time, but in the last decade, or especially the last 5-6 years or so, Image has really turned around and been what they should have been from the beginning. And
right, but you needed those guys to get to where it is now.
Yeah, but then they never expanded. That's what I'm saying. They tried, but nothing took off. Nothing like they do now.
They tried to expand in their own kind of universes, like with Wildstorm and Top Cow and like these variations of a publishing company within a publishing company.
All right, we're going to play Top 10. Top 10 comics published in 2014 by units sold, and this includes variant covers, so keep that in mind. I'll give you a hint. There's 2 publishers, and one of them is not DC on the top 10.
Let me just make sure that I understand you clearly.
Image
DC
or
is
Marvel?
not existent in the top 10 best comics sold in 2014?
By units, that is correct. DC has significantly less variants than let's call them their distinguished competition.
Rocket Raccoon number 1.
Hashtag it's Marvel.
So let me ask you a question. Does Marvel possess 90% or more of the top 10 comics sold in 2014?
They are 9 out of 10. That is correct. Wow. It's a good year for Marvel. Good year for those variant covers.
So there's one non-Marvel comic that is also not a DC comic.
Yep. But it is a variant, and which is why it's on this list.
Oh. Is it a...
Remember Loot Crate? We've talked about this a number of times.
Getting there!
What comic is it?
I don't know.
Walking Dead number 134.
Well, then get
33?
there.
It is Walking Dead 132.
32.
Is the number 2 spot. And Charlie,
I was going to say Walking Dead before the Loot Crate thing.
Okay. Charlie, who started off with Rocket Raccoon, number 3. Rocket Raccoon is number 1, again, because of Loot Crate.
Yeah. I remember all those articles about crazy printing.
So Toby, jump in. So there's 8 Marvel books on this list.
No, but I got all my guesses out of the way already. Now I'm dead in the water.
There's a
You had 2
couple.
guesses?
Yeah.
And they've been taken?
Yeah.
And you can't guess any more?
No.
Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Amazing Spider-Man #1 is the #1 comic of 2014
Yeah, I would have not guessed.
by a by a
Dude,
fairly
Amazing
large
Spider-Man
margin.
#1?
Yeah, by a fairly large margin too.
Or is Star-Lord on there?
Star-Lord is not on.
Come
there.
on.
No.
Star-Lord?
Star-Lord, man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't even read Marvel. What do you?
I read.
Of course, you're going to guess Star-Lord. You don't even read Marvel.
I read Star-Lord.
So of the 7 remaining spots,
Death of Wolverine.
I would pick an Avengers
Death of
comic,
Wolverine.
but I don't know which Avengers are even published anymore.
okay, we'll go in order. Death of Wolverine, #1 is in 4th place. #4 is in 5th place. Number 2
What?
is in 8th place, and number 3 is in 9th place.
This is like Charlie playing that game where he goes to letters and it's like ding, 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 ding.
Death of Wolverine, 4 in the top 10.
Dude,
That's
that is crazy.
considering I sold 7 copies of Wolverines, #1. The fact that all
You sold
4
7 copies?
Yeah, total.
So I am, what, is that 12 or 13% of your Wolverines
Yeah.
market share?
So Toby,
What?
Thor, #1, 6th place.
I got one.
Very good.
Nicely done.
So there's 2 left. 2 left from Marvel.
Axis?
No Axis.
No Axis.
I was surprised by no Axis.
Although it is an event book. The #7 spot
Original
is an
Sin?
event book. Original Sin #1 is the #7 spot.
Yeah, I was
That's
surprised
correct.
by that.
Ah,
And
that was
the last one, I was very surprised. I mean, like, when you hear it, it's not that surprising, but...
Did S.H.I.E.L.D. sneak on that?
No.
Okay.
Wait, we got them all now, right?
But Bryce, you remember what the #10 spot is?
Yeah.
Okay.
like, when you say it, it's not that surprising, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow.
It's kind of surprising. But variance.
it makes sense.
Variance is why it sold that much. It's the last. It's the last issue. I think it's the last issue.
Just think
right?
of, let's see. I was very surprised that there was no Axis book on there. How can we give a hint?
It was definitely the biggest relaunch of the year,
There you go.
and this is how the book ended. Charlie's staring at a wall. The book's not up there, so don't look.
It's the last issue of a major
Before the relaunch.
Run.
Yes, Superior
X-Men.
Spider-Man.
Superior Spider-Man #31. Yeah. So in a world of Guardians of the Galaxy
Although they ended
and
up not being
and
the last issue, by the way.
well, yeah, of course. You know, despite Marvel not owning the rights to Spider-Man and Wolverine, they sure sell a whole lot of comic books about Spider-Man and Wolverine. I mean, the movies. You know,
Where was DC's first?
I don't know. I just have the top 10 here.
But it was probably Batman.
So we'll do the switch here in the top 10
yeah, it was
graphic
the,
novels.
Exactly, it was the inverse in graphic novels.
So in top 10 graphic novels, there are 2 companies represented, and one of them is not Marvel. And one of them has 1, and one of them has 9 spots. Can you tell me which companies those would be? Someone want to play along?
This is a great game.
Is Image the one with 9 spots?
Image is the one with 9 spots. 9.
DC has 1.
DC has 1.
This is what
It's the
now?
one
How
that
many
doesn't
of them
surprise
are
you at all.
Walking Dead?
Walking Dead is volume 20. Walking Dead is #3. Walking Dead Volume 1, just the Volume 1 is the 5th spot. 21 is the 6th spot. 22 is the 8th spot.
Charlie.
Oh,
This
2
is
books.
now?
Well, what? Okay, think
Yeah,
back
yeah.
what my top 10 graphic novels were for the year.
I know what the
And
next one is.
what's the next one, Brock?
Saga 1, 2, and 3.
Well, more than that. Saga 3 is #1 for the year. Saga Volume 1 is #2 for the year. Saga #2 is #4 for the year. And Saga #4, which came out like 2 weeks before the end of the year, is the 10th
It snuck on
best-selling
there? Damn.
comic of trade of the year. So Saga and Walking Dead, like, Walking Dead is
I mean,
obviously
8 spots, right?
8 out of the 10 spots. Yeah.
That's just...
So
See, I'm just impressed the Saga hardcover's not on there.
no.
Well,
Well,
this
this
is
is
$50.
this is units sold as well. Remember that. And also,
Okay, it's awesome.
I know. I got it for Christmas.
You know,
it's still coming in the mail.
Walking Dead kind of dropped on our list, but man, you go bookstores and chains.
Yeah.
Walking Dead is still such a beast. So there's one DC book and one more Image book, and if you remember again our top 10 list from last week, you'll remember the other Image book on here because it was also on my top 10 list.
Without having heard that list, could I guess Sex Criminals?
You can guess Sex Criminals, and you'd be absolutely right. That book, people don't know how well Sex Criminals does. That is I mean, we don't sell a ton of the single issues, but that trade has a following and a half.
Hey, people love Cumworld, man.
Oh, it's Chip Zdarsky is a very special man, and I'm so happy this guy's doing well because he is fantastic. He is fantastic. I love this guy.
It's great art.
He's a great artist. I really like his art
story
style.
is...
Lost Matt Fraction.
What?
Everyone loves Cumworld, apparently.
And the number 9 spot is a DC comic, and it was not one published last year.
Batman.
Oh, it's got to be a Batman.
Batman Volume 1, Court of Owls. Number 9 spot. DC's highest selling book was published 3 years ago. But
It
again,
was not 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When was Death of the
Dude, that's
Family
crazy.
Arc of the New 52.
published? The trade.
Would have
Was
been
this
That
year?
was this year.
2012, 2013.
Oh, did that? Okay.
But if you look back at our list again, I mean, it's these perennial sellers are this is.
So
Yeah.
the best-selling graphic novels from 2014, it sounds like at least half of them weren't published in 2014.
No, I mean Saga 3 and 4 came out this year, but 1, 2, The Walking Dead 20 came out because they
There were
they triple
trades
shipped
this
those.
year because they
Yeah.
they did a 6 months when All Out War came
Yeah.
out. It was two every month and a half.
I think Walking Dead 20 technically came out this year. I'll have to check the date on it. Sex Criminals came out this year.
year,
But Court of Owls didn't. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of books.
That is crazy that, I mean, Image is doing so well. That's fantastic, although that's like almost boring representation between...
So much. So much.
I mean, so it's 4 books in the top graphic novel sales.
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean,
In
when
the
you
top 10
get
graphic
in-
novel sales, there's 4 books.
Yeah.
Even when you get into
sex is in there.
issues, it's the same kind of thing. Like when you're looking at the year totals and you're not like adding up how well Batman sold, you're just on your list. You're going to see consecutive issues all in a row wherever they show up.
Dude, I can't believe that no Batman made the top 10 comics.
Well,
Single.
variants, right?
It's because of variants.
There's all sorts of crazy
Did
incentives
Death of Wolverine
nowadays.
2 and 3 have variants?
Oh, yeah.
Because I can see 1 and 4 selling, but like 2 and 3, they had
Yeah.
variants too?
They had all of them had variants.
Two went through a bunch of printings. 2 was like a weirdly like under-ordered book or something, and a lot of stores jacked their orders way up on 2 after the fact. With Batman, though, next year, number 1, or this year, I should say, the number 1 book is going to be Star Wars because nothing's going to even come close to it.
Yeah.
But 2 or 3 could be Batman because Batman's getting a Loot Crate cover, and that's 300,000 copies or more.
It is also such malarkey that they count Loot Crate. Just
Yeah, I don't disagree.
yeah, it's all good. Whatever.
All right. Well, we have a few extra minutes here, so let's talk about some of this stuff. Toby, you were a big fan. You haven't said much this episode, so we're going to talk to you for a second. You're a big fan of Veronica Mars. Mm-hmm. What do you think of this iZombie trailer?
It looks like Veronica
It
Mars.
looks like Veronica Mars, right?
And True Calling.
So what do you tell us about this? You like the trailer?
It's all right.
Okay. Tell us about Veronica Mars and tell us about iZombie.
Veronica Mars is the best TV show besides The Wire and completely different show, by the way.
Yeah, couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen any Veronica Mars though. What is Veronica Mars about?
It's a little detective stories.
Like Nancy Drew?
Yeah, very much like Nancy Drew. Kind of like an updated Nancy Drew.
Dude, if Nancy Drew is like that chick in Veronica Mars, she's a very pretty girl.
And so this trailer for iZombie, which is based on the Mike Allred and Peter Milligan? No, is it Milligan? Who the hell co-wrote iZombie with him?
I thought it was Milligan.
Maybe it's Peter Milligan. I'm totally blanking. Vertigo book. This is one of their
Yeah.
kind of mid-season replacements.
Yes.
It's about a
Well, what a
girl detective who's a zombie.
and she eats brains and sees their lives or something
Yeah,
like that, right?
yeah.
It's very much like True Calling.
So it's
And Chew.
It's Chew.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Veronica Mars meets
Chew.
So I don't know True Calling. I mean, I heard about it. I don't know
True
anything
Calling is
about it.
basically the same thing. It's a girl that works in the morgue and the dead people ask for her help and she gets she jumps back a day and she has to go figure things out.
Huh, okay.
Well,
Okay.
but she doesn't absorb any of their knowledge, if I recall. It's just like a weird time rewind.
She
thing.
jumps back, and then
Yeah.
she has to go figure things out. It's been a while since I watched it. I love that show, though.
Yeah, it's, I guess, more like Quantum Leap that way
Yeah,
in
but
some ways.
what I read though, they left a lot of the other characters out for the time being, right? They're just concentrating on her for now.
Yeah, I think it seems very different from the comic. I read
Yeah.
maybe an issue or two,
Okay.
but it feels like a very different. But they're taking the base concept and maybe they'll bring in more stuff from the comics.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you have like Flash and Green Lantern or
Yeah.
Green Arrow
It-
and
it does
especially
feel-
Constantine.
Green Arrow.
Arrow.
It does feel very much like Veronica Mars, though.
Yeah.
And True
Well, so
Calling.
I've never seen Veronica Mars, but I'm aware of the. I've seen
Premise.
I've seen
so good. So
enough.
good. I mean,
footage
I
of
would
it
tell you
and-
that Josh Whedon watched it and loved it.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith watched it, loved it so
Yeah.
much that he wanted to be in it, and he was in there as a clerk.
Nice.
Yeah, just a phenomenal show. I actually didn't believe in it, and I think I bought it, like many things, on Black Friday for like $20 or $15, whatever. Went home, and it was one of like Lost is one of those I couldn't put down.
Nice.
The writing is just phenomenal on that story.
Yeah. I mean, this looks very Buffy-esque. This looks, iZombie looks very Buffy-esque. Looks very, that kind of sassy girl.
So I don't know.
It's on the right network.
Comedy.
Well, here's the thing, though. I already seen Veronica Mars, so I'm not entirely sure I want to see this right now. That's just my takeaway. I'm not hating on it. Nothing like that. It's just
It might
too similar.
kind of like been there, done that kind of thing. Yeah.
What channel is it going to be on?
CW.
Yeah, it's on the right network.
Yeah, they're probably going to snag a whole bunch of the Jane the
Yeah,
Virgin.
that's
ones.
like
What do you mean it's on the
generation.
right network?
It's for
So when
their market that they're aiming for.
Was Veronica Mars on the CW?
I think it was.
Wasn't it on UPN?
Which is the same thing. UPN and the WB are two separate channels that merged together became the CW. Not WC because that would spell toilet.
Well, yeah, but they were.
It would. Good call.
Yeah.
Well, that gets all sorts of complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just
But
because
in general, when it comes to shows that can survive on 2 to 3 million viewers, CW is a very safe place to be.
that makes sense. That's fair. I just know that CW's kicking ass with Arrow and Flash,
Yeah.
who are colorful.
Which just got renewed for season
Yeah.
2 and 5.
But,
2
I
and
mean,
4.
you'll.
But while
I mean,
iZombie
something-
is very different than those types of shows,
Yeah,
I will
but-
not disagree that
Supernatural's got to end eventually, even though it keeps on getting renewed and
What is
renewed and
Supernatural?
renewed.
Is that a teenage detective thing?
No, that's,
Supernatural is just like it sounds. It's
It's Constantine.
kind of, but it's been
it's
going
getting
on
canceled.
11 seasons.
Well, I don't know. No, it just keeps on
Supernatural
going. It stays
is
alive.
on like season 11.
They know that Bee Gees song is staying alive, staying alive. They just keep on staying alive.
Got
for some
it.
reason.
Yeah, they just got a season 11 approved, so.
Like every Comic-Con, they were like, "We're glad to be coming back. We thought we were done. 5 years later, we thought we were done, but we're still back."
This is Supernatural?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Supernatural
Good for them.
was like originally planned to only be 5 seasons, and now they've been renewed for season
And
11.
I see their panel every year because of Charlie goes to the Doctor Who panel, and the Supernatural is one of the ones ahead. So every year I get to see their, we're still alive.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But okay, that makes sense. I mean, I can see them doing a zombie spin on a teenage
And
girl
then, I mean, they got
detective
the
story.
network
Like,
has
that makes
what's
sense.
the vampire show? What's that called? I don't even know.
Vampire Diaries?
Yeah,
Yeah, Vampire Diaries is on that network.
Originals.
They got the Originals, which is a
Rain.
vampire
What's
thing
the
too.
originals? Oh,
the
Vampire?
spin-off of...
Oh, it's a spin-off? I didn't even know that. I feel stupid now.
Then there's like the 100 and Rain and Jane the Virgin and
Yeah,
You know a lot about this channel. Bob.
I have to watch the commercials.
They've
when I
nailed down
stream
that. They've nailed down that.
That
I mean, this is
demographic.
also a network that had originally had Buffy and Angel.
They're
and
more
so on.
sci-fi than
Yeah.
the Sci-Fi Channel at this point. I think. I mean,
That is scarily true.
yeah.
But isn't it because they produce way more shows than the Sci-Fi Channel?
But I mean, they just have a lot of genre stuff.
yeah.
A lot.
Dude, so
of
keep
genre
going on your
stuff.
list. We're gonna run out of time.
Well, the last big thing I want to talk about this week is we'll talk about Carter next week because we have that's actually aired, so we'll have a lot more to say about that. But the Ant-Man trailer. Now, I mean, Kevin over here couldn't get a Green Lantern and Flash movie off the ground, but Ant-Man, apparently you just
If I only pitched the Atom instead of those.
you could have made it. So we finally,
If you pitched the Atom at Marvel, you could have made it.
So we finally get the Ant-Man trailer coming out. The movie's out August, September, or something like that. I don't even know when the movie's out.
It might be July.
Is it July? It's out this year. So I mean, obviously, post Avengers, Age of Ultron, they'll really start pushing Ant-Man. But
So he will create Ultron, and then he'll drink himself to death, and that's a spin-off movie.
yeah, no,
Wrong Ant-Man.
yeah,
Oh, he's
Yeah.
in there though, isn't he? The dad?
yeah. Well, the older guy, yeah, he's Hank Pym. So
Yeah.
what's his face is Hank
Michael
Pym.
Douglas.
Yeah. So Paul Rudd is playing the second Ant-Man, the one based on the comic that just came out, which actually
Scott Lang?
yeah, Scott Lang, which is really good by the
it
way
was.
too.
That issue, the first, I mean, it felt like a one-shot issue, but it was
Yeah.
a really good, solid issue.
It was a good setup. So Scott Lang, the second Ant-Man who steals Ant-Man's costume and becomes Ant-Man, and it feels like they're doing. I mean, they're not. He's a thief. He's not stealing the costume, but it feels like a kind of similar setup. Doesn't seem as quite as comedic as Guardians, but it definitely has its funny Marvel kind of witty jokes. I mean, it looks like a Marvel movie. That's the best compliment I can give to it.
He has an awesome big screen TV in there.
Does he?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Because he's little.
Because he shrinks down to the little size.
Oh, you talk. In the comic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the comic.
Yeah, in the comic, his cell phone is his big screen TV.
It was awesome.
Because he's little.
It's like IMAX.
It's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no.
Read the comic, Bryce. Read the
Teaser
comic.
was
It's
cool.
Marvel.
Obviously, we'll see more as it comes out. Impressions? What are you guys thinking? We've too much been there, done that, or it looks interesting.
Kelly was
or-
watching it on her. My wife was watching it on her phone, and I heard Michael Douglas's voice say something like, "We need you, Scott," or something like that. And I ran out of the room. No trailers, no trailers.
So you didn't watch it at all?
No, I'm a no
No,
trailer
he
guy.
should know
Okay.
trailers. Yeah.
I'm a one trailer and done guy.
Okay.
Yeah, the Avengers trailer is on and over by this point. I'm not watching it. I'm out.
I'll watch it now.
Wait, so did you watch the Ant-Size trailer and then you were done with it?
I watched I watched the full trailer.
Because they put out a microscopically
Yeah, not that
small trailer,
Yes.
like it was a tiny little video that you couldn't watch.
Wait, that's hilarious. Really?
Yeah.
That's
it was
kind
a
of clever.
joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not that excited for it. I don't know why.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, a lot of this stuff just comes down to I don't expect this to be sort of the blockbuster that Guardians was or anything like that, but I don't want every Marvel movie to be some
Yeah.
huge blockbuster.
You don't want it to be the
So,
same either. I mean, for me,
as
it's
long
like
as they have the expectations of we are just going to do another fun movie, not throw a $300 million budget behind it, or then I think it'll be good.
I expect we'll have a few of these movies be these quote unquote smaller movies.
Yeah.
And then we have the $150, $200 million cap,
Hopefully,
Avengers,
Yeah.
Thor, the big ones.
I mean, what I was watching it, and I really liked seeing some of those classic, kind of just looks of Ant-Man riding on an ant flying, and just kind of, just overall seeing like the suit and stuff like that. You got a good feel for it, and the humor seemed to be okay in it. Can we change the name?
Yeah.
Right, like, but for me, it's like I'm somewhat excited for it just because it's. I mean, I love Paul Rudd. I love Michael Douglas. That bald guy that was in it was in House of Cards, and he did a really good job in that.
The governor from House of Cards
Kevin
in the movie?
Spacey.
Yeah. No, the
governor.
The governor, the one that.
Don't spoil.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on season 1 or 2?
No. I've seen season 2, but I don't want you spoiling it for other people,
haven't seen
which you have a
season one?
predilection
Yeah.
to do.
Oh, I wasn't going to spoil it.
Yeah, you do it anyways.
Yeah. Sure, you weren't going to spoil it. You never do that.
It was the first.
I can say something. I have to speak vaguely because
Vaguely.
I only know. I'm not trying to be coy. I don't know much more than what I can say in this. Is that someone I know who has read the Ant-Man script, the final Ant-Man script, said that the trailer, because I kind of expressed I was a little bit kind of on the trailer, expressed that there are large and important aspects of the movie that are not hinted at all in the trailer.
the trailer feels like, here are the human footage that we're it's like the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Here's the stuff with the humans that's done, and maybe a couple money shots, but the real trailer and the full scope of the movie we'll see later.
So here's my not serious pitch for Ant-Man. I want half the movie to be like Back to the Future 2, where we see footage from all the other Marvel movies, and it turns out Ant-Man's been there all along, like Tiny, watching the scenes.
That would be
So we
That
just
would
see it
be-
from this perspective with the camera low on the ground. You see the Avengers.
That would be amazing.
That would be so awesome.
That'd be. Yeah, forget this movie.
fuck
Have
it.
you guys seen
Yeah.
The Lion King 1.5?
No, but I know about it.
It's Timon and Pumbaa. It's The Lion King 1, but in the viewpoint
No, I've
of
heard
Timon
of
and
it,
Pumbaa.
but
No, it's awesome. It's the whole movie, but through Timon and Pumbaa's eyes. So it's like they go off on the other things, and they come back to the movie, and they go off again. And
oh, really?
yeah, it's cool. This should be what the Ant-Man should be. They go through all the Marvel movies. He has his little mini missions. That'd be perfect.
That would be really cool.
I mean, the fear about the Ant-Man movies, I think people think it's not going to connect to the Avengers. I assume it will, right? I mean, in some fashion, it would be weird if they don't, because I could see,
I still have a feeling he's in that movie. We just don't know yet.
well, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, maybe an Inhuman or two, or Captain Marvel. This is going to be the Avengers, post-Avengers 4. These guys that they're all putting in the new movies, that's going to be the Avengers.
I
Cap,
disagree.
Thor, Iron
No.
Man. No.
It's Phase 4 Avengers.
Yeah, 100%. That's why they're introducing these characters.
Dude, I just think that I don't.
Because they're going from the regular Avengers to the Bendis Avengers.
This is like
hell
the
no.
casting that when they cast Cyborg.
Horrible
it's
Avengers.
like it is crazy to me. anybody projecting out beyond 2020. It's like Paul Rudd is going to like be bald and or have all gray
that
hair.
guy ages. He doesn't age.
That's true. He looks like he did in Clueless.
Exactly.
That just means it's all going to hit him at the same time.
No, all I'm saying is that it's crazy to be casting now 6 years down the road.
Forget 2020. Anything, what are we, 2015 right now? Anything on those slates that's past, say, 2018 is a guess.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And if you look at that other
As
article,
long as we get through the Infinity War, I'm good.
Yeah, Suicide Squad.
Charlie could
movie.
die happy, man.
and if you look at that article that, or I'm not sure if it was one of the ones that you posted in the show notes on Bleeding Cool that like said the current status of like comic book movies like in the next whatever years, it's like they have so many. There's like 8 comic book movies slated for 2017, and it's like you guys are crazy. This is just not gonna happen.
They haven't started shooting. Yeah, they can always cancel too.
They have like a release date for FF2. FF2. FF1 is going to bomb so bad, the rights are going to revert back to Marvel. Like, why are they slating a specific date for FF2?
Oh, because Marvel's going to fast track that movie and they're going to hit that date. It's just going to be by Marvel.
What it is I think this is how Kevin Bacon backed me up with if I'm completely wrong or full of shit, but that's fine.
Did you just say Kevin Bacon back me up?
No, I said Kevin, you can back me up.
Oh, I was like, where's Kevin Bacon?
But you met Kevin Bacon, right? Because apparently he knows everybody.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
What am I backing you up on?
They get these dates down because they're locking the dates down because they're staggering the releases. Because when they do releases of movies, it's like this production company is going to do it this week, and then we're going to do it this week. So it's kind of like they don't want to stack two major movies on the same weekend, because they used to do that where they would compete for dollars in that, and it was just it killed both of the
They
movies.
still do. Isn't Superman the Dawn of Justice coming out the same day as Avengers? Oh, no. One of them got moved, right?
No, they pushed it. Oh, well, we should also mention very briefly the rumor, although it's probably bullshit, that Dawn of Justice is getting split into 2 movies.
Oh, yeah.
One coming out this October and the other actually coming out in the regular time slot of March of next year. But that seems like a load of bullshit to me. But that would be amazing if it's true. I totally want 2 movies.
Wait, Dawn of
totally
Justice, that's the new Batman movie?
The Batman Superman movie? Yeah.
Yeah, the new Batman movie.
Well,
Yeah.
I will bet everybody at this table $1 right now, and I said this to Ryan a couple weeks
I got
ago.
4 quarters.
I don't care what it is.
Okay.
I'm already in.
You will not see in 2017, 18, 19, 20, you name the year, this is an open-ended bet, you will not see a theatrical cyborg movie.
Dude, that's exactly what I'm saying.
You might see one of those animated movies, something like that, but you will not go to the theater and buy a ticket for a solo cyborg movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
dude.
I don't
It's
know.
not going
I don't
to
know, man.
happen.
Steel was in the movie, so I don't know. And it was Shaq playing him.
Can you believe?
Shaq is free to play cyborg.
And they even had the balls to cast him. It's like,
Can you believe that they will make a movie about a tree demon that appeared in one issue of
But
Amazing?
he's part of a team.
About Amazing in like fucking.
He's a demon?
Tales of or whatever he is. Tales of
Tales of
Suspense
or something.
in the mid 50s. I call bullshit on that. It's just, they cast a guy. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
as in the Justice League, yes. Granted, I'm saying I don't think you'll see a solo Groot movie.
yeah,
I would watch that in a heartbeat.
dude, this is exactly
I
what
would
I'm
I
talking
just thought I watched that over anything.
Cyborg movie is not happening.
well,
Cyborg's
we'll see.
not enough, despite the best efforts of Jeff Johns and the New 52. Cyborg's not an A-list character.
He will be in the Justice League,
Yes.
I bet.
Yes.
But dude, there's no way that
I don't know.
When they announced it was last year. So 6 years from now, this young actor, who by the way will then be in his mid-30s, like he's going to be in Cyborg #1. Like it just doesn't make any sense, and you're not even skeptical at all. And your whole like, oh, Groot, that'll never happen. It's like, well, like Marvel's track record notwithstanding, yeah, it was part of a team. There is not going to be a Groot solo movie. You think that a solo Cyborg movie? Oh yeah, that Cyborg like anti-hero. He's
Let me say something real fast. A lot of kids grew up on the Tiny Titans cartoon, and they grew up on the next cartoon, and they're getting older. You wonder why the Teen Titans slated for TNT in a couple of years or next year? Just because that same group is growing older and they're going to grow with the show.
Think about
So
like Batman
I can
and
see
Superman
a cyborg movie happening, maybe not right now, but
Kevin's favorite comic of all time, one of his favorite comics of all time, New Teen Titans, featuring who's one of the main characters.
Just so I'm
Granted,
clear,
yes.
Just so I'm clear, 4 people at the table think that this is going to happen.
Do I think it's likely.
Can I go with I don't?
No, that's
care.
not what
I'm
the
excited
argument
if it does. I don't care if it doesn't.
100% no. 0% no. 50%? Yeah. I think it's like. I think
I'm
it's,
going
how about
0%.
51%. I think it's more likely than unlikely. I think Marvel and DC are going to try to stick
If you had to bet right now, would you think sooner you would see a reboot Green Lantern or a solo Cyborg?
That's a hard one. That's a tough
Green Lantern,
one.
but maybe that's just me wanting more Green Lantern.
Well, of course that's you.
But
I still want that character redeemed also.
Chris Pine as Hal Jordan.
But I think this is the problem, right? Are they willing to risk the Green Lantern sequel, which did not, or even if it's a reboot, people don't know, most people don't know what a reboot is or anything. They're like, oh, it's all the same thing. Versus an unknown, I mean, they may take the unknown. I think they might.
And well, I don't know. At this point, DC hasn't done shit yet. So until they come out with the Wonder Woman's and the Flash and Green Lantern movie,
Marvel
they're gonna do a crossover announcement.
Okay, Marvel and DC, are all those dates 100%? No, of course not. But are they all 0%? No, I think that most of them will hit those dates or something very similar. But will some of the Marvel Cinematic? I'm not talking FF or Spider-Man. I'm talking Marvel Cinematic. I think they got a good plan. DC. And Warner Brothers, they're betting the farm on the DC comic stuff. So I think we'll see most of them.
And was it Fox announced like Sinister Six? The movie is coming out in like 2016.
No, the better one is Aunt May.
No, that was bullshit. They call bullshit.
That'd be
on
awesome.
that.
But like, I think that Sinister Six, it might be 2017, but I think that Sinister Six is slated for like 2016.
Sinister Six is Spider-Man 3 by the Buffy guy. What's his face?
No. Spider-Man 3 is separately
the guy
announced.
who did the Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah. What's his name?
Didn't he leave for
Drew Goddard. Yeah, that's.
Didn't he leave for? Oh wait, he left Daredevil to do that.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep.
So let me I'm happy to pay out the dollar wherever we all are in 2020.
That's fine.
Cyborg. I'm just skeptical
in dollar or with inflation.
I'll raise you a Coke.
I'm just skeptical in the same sense I would be if they announced, say, a Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't like the character.
I mean, it's more likely Harley Quinn just.
But she's so I could see her in Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I could see her spinning out of that.
I would still be skeptical that there would be enough to hang a solo movie on her. The same way Arrow is a TV show and works as a TV show. If they announced a Green Arrow feature film, I would be skeptical.
I got your Harley Quinn right here. She's tired of Gotham. She's tired of everything. Right? She goes on a road trip across the United States
and causes mayhem.
Dude, so they're doing this Deadpool movie that's coming out a year from now?
No, it's not coming out. No, yeah, bullshit. There's a movie I call bullshit on. That Deadpool movie's not coming out.
Gloves
no
off.
chance.
Hockey fight.
Wait. What? Hold on. Just so I'm clear, what is more likely, Cyborg in 2020 or Deadpool to come out?
Oh, I'm going. No.
How about Cyborg at all or Deadpool at all?
I'm going with Deadpool.
Deadpool will come out before Cyborg, but Deadpool fucking in the time slot that they're giving it, 0% chance. There's no way.
So do you think that the casting of Ryan Reynolds is real?
No, I mean, he was cast, sure, at one point, but is this all official? I mean, they did the effects company did like a sizzle reel. Some people said, oh, it's happening. There's nothing official. There's no official Deadpool movie.
I think that they still are grabbing their balls on 2016.
How the fuck is a movie coming out in a year and a half?
I totally agree that it's totally unrealistic. I'm just saying, like, how can anybody with integrity at that company, and maybe that answers my question, be saying, like, still, oh yeah, no, this will be out in 14 months.
Exactly.
It's one of those things where I'd like to see a Dirty Laundry Punisher movie.
Oh.
Right? I mean, that was an awesome short. They could do a great Punisher movies like that. Will they?
They could do that in a year. Easy.
Yeah, they could do that in a year, but are we going to see it?
Nope. I'd rather see a Punisher TV show by Netflix at this point.
Oh yeah. Based off like the Rucka stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh fuck! Rucka Punisher. Yes. I didn't even go that far yet. I just wanted to see a TV show, but based on Rucka stuff.
And they could do the crossover stuff with Daredevil that way.
Oh yeah. They could totally do it all.
The Marvel Knights universe should all be cinematic. That's how they can do it. Or not cinematic, Netflix.
Netflix, dude, that'd be perfect.
That would be amazing.
That'd be perfect.
That would be awesome.
Speaking of CW,
does that mean I get a Cloak and Dagger?
That'd be the animated spinoff. Yeah. Speaking of that,
wait, I heard some crazy ass rumor. We're gonna wrap up here in a second, but I heard some crazy ass rumor that Netflix might pass on the Alias show. The Jessica Jones show. Did anyone hear this?
No, I didn't.
I did hear it's in trouble that they might push it off.
Maybe you dreamed this, Ryan.
Well, I feel like that's going to be a package deal. Like it's all or nothing. I don't think you push that off.
Well, either way, Daredevil has a date now.
Yeah,
so.
Daredevil is almost done. They're done
April.
shooting. They're done shooting. The director announced that they're done shooting.
Yeah, Daredevil's out April. All right, Toby, you're one thing, and then we're going to wrap up.
Vixen, CWC.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get into that probably more next week once we had more info.
I thought that was really interesting.
But yeah, they're going to do a animated online Vixen show for a new digital format called the CW Seed.
Which also has a Veronica Mars spinoff.
Yeah, but we don't know much about it, but I mean, we'll find out.
We know that one of the character designers from Young Justice.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Young Justice.
Yeah.
So we'll find out more as this goes on.
If it's voiced by Stephen O'Meal and...
I'm sure he would.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Stephen O'Meal and
the kid,
yeah.
Grant Gustin.
Yeah.
Grant Gustin. If they're doing the voice, that's awesome.
Absolutely. So it's an animated series based in the Flash and Arrow universe, so that's pretty great. But we don't know if they're shorts or half hour or what. It's all digital, so that's kind of weird. But we'll find out as we know more. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that more once we find out. But I have to thank the Patreon people.
I have so much more to say about that Vixen show and the digital format.
Next week we'll talk all about it.
Who knows if I be here next week? Things might happen. Buses run through. Occasionally Bryce gets mad. He might run through the store with a car when you say silly things.
Not again.
So Ryan Hess in the Region for Gaming podcast, thank you very much. rfgpodcast@wordpress.com. Thank you very much for supporting us on Patreon. And we'll tell you about how you can do that in just a minute. Albert Soy, Mike Campbell, and Niall Thomas, thank all of you very, very much for your continued support of the podcast. And if you want to be thanked on every single episode of the podcast, you can donate to us at patreon.com/comicconspiracy. That's the higher dollar amounts are on there. We also have a bunch of people we thank once a month for the low dollar amounts. Not that low is a bad thing. It's just there's various tiers.
Hey,
various
it's
tiers
not a low dollar amount. It's the affordable dollar amount.
It's whatever dollar amount you can. $1 a month, 50 cents a month, $300 a month. Anything is fine.
Throw pennies at us.
Anything is fine, and we'll take all of it. And we love all of our backers, and we like everyone that listens to us, even if they don't back us. That's so great. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up now. Kevin, thank you very, very much for being on.
Thank you for the invite. It was fun.
We will have to have you on more. I mean, you've got, as someone who collected during like the heydays of the 80s, like you've got some stories. I want to hear some more stories.
No problem. Anytime.
So we'll have you back on here. So in the meantime, go to geekbox.net to listen to this episode and all our previous episodes. You can go to forums.geekbox.net and the Geekbox Facebook group. And you can listen. You can talk to people about all sorts of stuff. You can listen to podcasts on there as well if you really want.
Facebook Groot.
Facebook Groot.
On Facebook.
Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. I haven't run all my official numbers for last year, but we think we sold more digital comics last year than years prior. Definitely the first year, if not last year. So go on there to buy some digital comics from us. We get a nice cut every time you do, so don't forget that. Once again, patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Go give some donations on there. You get some cool rewards. We're shipping out the December ones very soon. We got all our stuff picked out, so we'll have some books sent out for January for some of our high-tier backers. ConspiratorBrock.com. That is Brock's blog. Go there. Comics and Decline. Omar, we miss you, buddy, over in the 808 state.
It's still weird he calls it the 808.
That's what it's called, man. He's playing basketball. He's surfing. He's swimming every day. I see all his Instagram pics. It's ridiculous.
Love the turtles.
The Infinite Long Box Podcast and Wonders in the Fourth Dimension. Those are Charlie's other podcasts. Go listen to those. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan on Twitter. Brock is Brock Sager. Omar is Comics at the Kind. Go follow him and talk to him. Bryce is Larsen Bryce. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity Chaos. Listen to Geekbox, the Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, the All Talk Podcast. But before we go, and I forgot, we should have done this at the beginning because hopefully people are still listening. Kevin, you have books. Pimp your stuff
and a
right
Twitter
now.
account.
I have a book at this point.
You have a book?
It's a young adult novel. It's a tribute to the John Hughes high school movies of the 80s.
Nice.
There are comic book references as well to make it relevant to the podcast.
Nice. I have read it. And the references are awesome.
That is fantastic.
So the book is called After Dakota. It's on Amazon. It's on all book sites. My website is kevin-sharp.com. And my Twitter handle is @KevinSharp.
All right. You should go buy that book and go follow Kevin. Huh?
Not the Kevin Sharp. It's
that
Kevin
yes.
Sharp.
Thank you for the clarity. And I know Ryan only reads things with illustrations, so I won't recommend it to him.
Is there an illustration on the cover?
Yes.
That'll count. That'll count.
You'll just read the cover.
Did you do
there
the
is
book
also,
on tape?
But wait, there is also an 80s soundtrack listing in the back of the book to accompany the reading.
Okay.
I'm hooking Higgins now.
Okay. Did you get like David Bowie to do like the book on tape or something?
What a fantastic idea.
So get on it.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and thank you once again, and for everyone else, we will see you next week.
# it's Marvel.
Oh, that makes no sense.